Welcome back to Law and Crime, everybody. I'm Jesse Weber. I'm joined here on set by trial attorney Armand Kalfayan, and also joining us is attorney Terri Austin. We're breaking down a lot here on the network. All right, Armand, you have a witness here who, in my opinion, seems a bit aloof, a bit evasive, doesn't really seem to be providing the answers maybe the prosecution was looking for here. What's going on?
I don't know that the prosecution is really asking any questions that are, moving the case forward. But it's very clear that this witness has been ingratiated with that family for decades. And,
40 years, yeah.
She's known Wendy since she was 2 years old. It's clear to me, at least, that she's making whatever effort she can to avoid implicating the family, who everyone clearly has on their mind as the people that hired the hit. I think her main concern during the testimony is to avoid, implicating her boss and really her family. I don't even think it's a work relationship. I think after 40 years of working for a family business, you become a family member, and she's going to do what she can to protect them without putting herself in harm's way.
Right. Well, let's see what's going on right now. I think there's cross-examination, and we'll hear where they're going to go with this line of questioning. All right, so Terri, what did we gain from this testimony? Why did the prosecution call her?
We gained very little, and I agree with Armand. She is very aloof. I don't think she's going to say anything at all to implicate the Adelsons. The one thing I will say is she seems a little confused, and she doesn't have a great memory. I do think the prosecution has established, or was trying to establish, the fact that Katie did not work there, and if the prosecution later is able to establish that Katie was paid, but she didn't actually work there, then the question will be, what was she getting paid for? So that was the one small point I think the prosecution might have made here.
Right. No, that's a good point. Definitely a good point. Okay, so Armand, let me ask you this. It's a weird case because you have the Adelsons who haven't been charged, they haven't been arrested. They're this kind of outlying party. So as the prosecution, what do you have to do here to try to say, hey, listen, jury, I know we're not calling the Adelsons, and I don't think they're going to be called. I know you're not going to, besides Wendy Adelson, but we're still targeting them, and we're still implicating them, and we're still putting them as a central figure, but they're not at that defense table right there. I find that to be a bit odd, and it could be problematic for the state. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a big problem. I think that they should be focusing on the defendants that are in the room. And every time they bring up some, potential connection between the people who they're saying did it and the people who may have hired them, it just draws attention away from the people that they're trying to convict. It's not Harvey's trial. They're not trying to prove a case against Harvey Adelson. So to even bring up sort of this connection between Harvey and the people involved in the crime, I think it just takes away from it, and it draws attention away from the fact that they're trying to prove this case against the people in the room.
It helps establish why two men who have no connection to Tallahassee would come from Miami. Otherwise, they have no connection to Dan Markel. So I guess they need to tell the story. Before we jump back live with a new witness, Terri, I'm going to ask you the big question here. Why, in your opinion, given what we've seen throughout this trial and what we've read about this case, why hasn't Charlie Adelson or Donna Adelson or anybody in the Adelson family been charged? Yes, it's only a theory. They've been implicated. You're hearing it in open court, but why haven't they been charged? You would seem to suggest that there is enough evidence to bring charges, but apparently not.
I think the prosecution is waiting until they have all of the evidence and they have a tight case against the Adelsons. I don't think they want to make any mistakes. Once they get the conviction here, they have Rivera, they're looking for Garcia, they're looking for Katie. If they get all three convictions, they're going to have much more information. And I think their plan, and we could be wrong, but I think their plan is to ultimately bring charges. Sometimes it takes a long time to ultimately get to the individual who is, behind the whole scheme. And I do think that at one point in time, we're going to get the fact that Charlie Adelson and Wendy Adelson were involved in this entire scheme to kill Wendy's ex-husband, Dan Markel.
Maybe that's what will happen. We'll have to see. We're still in this trial, though, and up next is Erica Johnson. She is also a dental assistant at the Adelson Institute, and she worked for Charlie and Harvey. Let's see what she has to say. Okay, so the jury has stepped out during the testimony of Erica Johnson, who is a dental assistant at the Adelson Institute. They're playing, I believe, some recorded phone call that they want to refresh our memory about. Armand, what are we getting from this? Why do we care about this voicemail? I'm thinking about voicemail in this case because it was believed that Garcia had called Harvey Adelson at one point when he wanted to collect his money. But I'm not sure if that's what this is. Where are we going with this?
This seems to be a phone call between the witness and Charlie. So I'm not really sure where the prosecution is going with
Tell you
this.
what, Armand, we just got word that the call is being played in open court, so let's hear what it is. Well, Armand, what did we just hear? We hear Charlie Adelson on the phone with his assistant Erica saying, you can interpret it, don't be so cooperative with the police because they wanted these records for Katie Manbanawa, her working there. That looks like somebody who didn't want cooperation with the police. How did you view it?
Right, but again, you know, this is the prosecution putting on a case against the Adelsons, right? It's clear that he had very strong views about cooperating with the police, whether that had something to do with his involvement or not, perhaps privacy issues, you know, you never know. But I don't know how effective this is against the defendants in the room.
Terri, what do you think about it as the jury enters and now they're probably going to be hearing about this?
Well, wow. That tape recording between Charlie Adelson and the assistant Erica, I think really shows that Charlie did not want her to cooperate. The very fact that he said, are we on a line? Let me call you back on another line, shows that he's trying to tell her something. And I think it was very clear he was telling her, do not cooperate. So I think what the prosecution wants to show here is, yeah, there's Charlie. He's, you know, intimately involved in all of this. He's the hitman. And guess who he hired? He hired these defendants. So yes, this was a wonderful tape for the prosecution.
Terri, we learned earlier that he had been communicating with his ex-girlfriend who testified earlier on in this case, earlier today. He actually communicated with her yesterday. How intently is Charlie and maybe the whole Adelson family watching this trial?
Too intently. And I think that's something during summation that I would say if I were the prosecution. And, you know, I understand the point that you don't want to point the finger too much at someone who's not in the room, but at the same time, pointing the finger at the Adelsons does establish the fact that they hired these defendants to kill Markel. So I do think that that's something that they're going to want to establish here.
How does the defense work around this, Armand? We just heard him on tape. It's about Katie. Again, you could interpret it as him trying to hide information from the police. If you're the defense, how do you kind of turn it away and say, wait, you know, we're talking about my clients here?
Right. Well, I think as part of a strong defense in this case, you would point to the fact that they don't have a customer, right? They don't have the person who hired these people in the room. So can they really make a case against these people without that, you know, important element? And the fact that they keep putting on this testimony, I think only hurts the prosecution on that issue.
All right, well, let's go back live, and the jury is back, and we're going to hear more from Erica Johnson, again, who's a dental assistant at the Adelson Institute. Let's go live. All right, Armand, we heard some cross-examination after that kind of explosive revelation with that call, and what she testified to. Was it effective, cross, at trying to downplay what we just heard?
You know, I don't think so. I think sometimes it's best not to cross-examine every witness. I don't think that it's worth just getting up there and talking to a witness for no reason. Garcia's attorney certainly accomplished nothing. You know, and you always want to sort of use a witness to your benefit, right? So if you're going to be questioning all of these witnesses who have some involvement with the company, you know, it would seem reasonable to me that a defense attorney would want to use those witnesses to in some way set forth a scenario that implicates maybe unknown actors in the place of their clients. And I don't think that anything that we've seen so far really, you know, puts a reasonable question into the jury's mind about whether the people in the room actually were the people that were hired to do this job. And I think that's a lost opportunity.
Terri, I want your final thoughts on this. We have less than a minute, lot to break down here.
Yeah, as far as the cross-examination is concerned, Jesse, I think Garcia's attorney should have just let that go by. There was nothing to get from asking about the phone records. But I do think Manbanawa's cross-examination was really good. I think he established the fact that his client did not, or could have worked in the office and wasn't lying about that issue. And the fact that she could have been paid, she was working on software, that software could have been, out of the office. So I think he did establish something there.
And trying to say, look, Charlie Adelson, he could have said the records don't exist, don't do anything, but maybe it wasn't as bad as what he did, although that tape wasn't great. Terri, Armand, thanks so much for coming on. Appreciate you both. They're going on a lunch break. We're going to take a break here on the network. I am going to be jumping out. Angelica Spanos is jumping on, and she has a lot to talk about, a lot to dissect in this new trial. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.